Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we have pushed to the very outskirts of Altdorf with the force of Brettonia and are looking to finish off the Empire once and for all. And with the build we brought here, it's a bit of a trebuchet spam build. I have had some success with the trebuchets. They can really help break up demi-blobs ahead of time. They can really win the artillery game against Empire, plus field trebuchets with their high splash can do rather well against most Empire artillery, especially when you outnumber that artillery. And so I figured, let's go with something a little campier here. We've got a nice mob of infantry and cavalry and archery and all that stuff, and let's see what we can pull off. So going over the build, we are rocking Lewin up in the sky. He is, of course, atop Beacus, and he's just a brutal combatant. He's got all his kit. I really didn't want to have a situation where I got sniped out too early by silver bullets or something, so we got the Lion's Shield for that magic and missile resist. We got Sword of Corone, Stand Your Ground, Foe Seeker, the beloved son of Brettonia, as well as Ladies Champion, so we got heals and massive amounts of additional damage output for a whole army if we actually get dropped below 50%, so some pretty nasty buffs there. Besides that, he is coming in alongside a Damsel of Beasts. Now this lady over here is coming in with the Pan's Impenetrable Belt, as well as Transformation of Kadon and Wild Heart. For those of you wondering why I brought Pan's Impenetrable Belt, I figured the extra physical resist could be nice if I found myself in a fight against a whole bunch of Demigryph Knights, because obviously bringing Wiston's Wild Form for the extra armor isn't going to help there. Bringing Flock of Doom isn't really going to help with the biggest problem, which is likely to be a demi-blob. So we have come in with Pan's Impenetrable Belt and hoping to get some value there. And of course, Transformation of Kadon just to get those nasty Manticore summons off and do some nukage. Now, for a front line, it's simply a bunch of peasants screening a handful of Spearmen at Arms. These guys are actually the unshielded variant and the shielded variant, so it's a bit of a mixed bag there, who are in turn shielding two archers. These guys are kind of there as point defense. We do have pox arrows in there. So if my opponent had brought Outriders, or if I found that they'd brought crossbows or guns, that sort of thing, these guys will be more point defense. Well, the blessed field trebuchets are there to chip away from afar. And with 1,000 gold apiece spent in these guys, they are an investment I want to protect. But hopefully they can win me the artillery war, which here is going to be against the Sunmaker, and then whittle down any Demigryph Knights that my opponent brought. Besides that, we do have some men arms with polearms here in the back, providing further security, and these guys with their higher leadership and AP damage are a serious threat to units like Demigryphs. They can really drag them down to the muck, especially when backed up by Questing Knights, of which we've got 3 units here. For my opponent's army, it is, well, an interesting attack. Volkvar is rocking in on his Pimp Wagon. He's got his full kit except for the Mistcast ability. I actually don't even know what that ability is called because it's just never used, but he doesn't have the extra Mistcast ability. But besides that, he's got everything else. Benediction, of course, excellent ability that's often underrated. I see a lot of Empire players who don't bring this one. It's actually really useful because the +8 leadership can really hold together units like Demigryph Knights, which actually don't have the best of leadership. It can really hold them together. And Volkmar, besides that, is a tough unit for Brettonia to shut down. We do have a whole bunch of Spearmen at Arms here, Spearmen with shields making up the front line, some Sigmar Sons, as well as Flagellants following that up. And these guys, of course, are unbreakable and will steamroller over Brettonian chaff quite effectively. Sunmaker is already teeing off on the Blessed Field Trebuchet and doing quite a bit of damage. It is backed up by Reichsguard, as well as 2 Demigryph Knights with Halberds and a Lore of Lifecaster, who's got Regrowth and Earthblood. Also does have the Life Bloom, so it could be nasty. Now, Blessed Field Trebuchets are returning fire. I was actually pulling my Pox Bows out of range there, because I feared that would be the initial target, but it is not. And the poor Pox Bows there lose 20 models immediately, and the Blessed Field Trebuchet is routed instantly. Not just routed, shattered. That is how brutal that salvo from the Sunmaker was, and I did not anticipate that. And as you can see here, I'm piling forward with the Lewin, just seeing if I could scout and maybe bring this thing down. And as you can see, it's actually unprotected. My opponent didn't have any missile play besides the Sunmaker, so Lewin's going to be able to get in here. He does take a little bit of damage from the rockets, but he's able to rat off the rocket crew quite effectively and force them to flee. In the meantime, though, my opponent has packed up and is pushing forward with the entirety of his force. Good move, knowing he can't win that artillery duel now, but he's already won himself a serious respite, having removed that trebuchet from play. That's a big win there. Lore of Lifecaster here is a bit alone. The Jade Wizard is in a precarious position, and so Lewin is going to swoop in, looking to rat this guy off. But unfortunately, although we do get a few swipes there, we don't quite get the double tap, and the Jade Wizard here is going to get routed, but I see my opponent's impeding assault here, and I'm going to pack Lewin up and look to support here, rather than chasing off the Sorcerer, because I really can't waste my time chasing this guy off. As you can see, Volkmar is just piling through. The Trebuchet has already whittled down 4 World of Gryphite models, so that is definitely a big win. Pox Arrow Fire is pouring in, and you can see the Questing Knights here moving to engage. 1 unit over here, 1 unit on the Altar of Gryphites, and the other unit countercharging the Reichsguard here. And Reichsguard is a very easy target for Questing Knights. Questing Knights will generally win that fight quite effectively, though as you can see, Demigryph Knights here will get their buff from Volkmar and then look to shift around. You can see the poor Questing Knights here just having a horrible time of it. 44 models just get bombarded into oblivion there by that Soulfire. Soulfire is just disgusting, and as you can see there, Manticore summon going up, and we're going to be looking to do some damage. Banishment over here annihilating the Reichsguard as well as the Questing Knights, and gets a beautiful cast there. Bit of luck on my opponent's part, but you know, that is how it is sometimes, and the Questing Knights do break, and they do completely rat off the field there. So quite a disaster already for Brettonia, and of course I don't have heals with this build, keep that in mind. And so Lewin still isn't back in the fight. We didn't actually kill off that Jade Wizard, we didn't actually kill off the Treb crew, so that is a big problem. In the meantime, here in the pits, things are not going too hot. Feral Manticore with Pan's Impenetrable Belt, of course, helping prop these guys up a little bit, but that's not going to help against Volkmar. He does magic damage. He's already up to 100 kills. He's eradicated some Questing Knights. Despite our best of efforts, we are in a really, really bad spot here. You can see the Royal Sacrifice there trading incredibly efficiently with us, despite the Manticore diving in and doing some work. Bows pouring in fire, and the last of the polearms here being pulled forward are trying to interdict the push, and things are just very, very bloody right now. Lewin there does dive in on Volkmar, bring him down with the Sword of Corone, doing quite a lot of damage to the Pimp Wagon, and really pushing Volkmar down quite a bit. So he's down to 3,000 HP now, not bad at all. Trebuchet keeps firing, so that is one big win for us there, that we're able to keep it online. As you can see, the Demigryphs straight up not having a good time. Regrowth ain't bringing models back, and so that is not good for my opponent. But unfortunately, Demigryphs here coming back in, Reichsguard pouring in, and the Griffites managed to extricate themselves and swing into this fight, and Lewin is very much alone. Unfortunately, polearms, those courageous heroes of Brettonia charging in, pikes, I guess I shouldn't even call these pikes, they're not even halberds. It's a mix of like bills and just arms and God knows what else, pouring in and looking to drag this cavalry down to the muck. And as we're going to see here, the men-at-arms with no Soulfire to really drag them down will actually do quite some damage. Lewin, of course, is providing his buffs and support there. You can see the Jade Wizard trying to do his best to shut down the Trebuchets there because they are a big threat. Questing Knights there being run off. Lewin, of course, doing his best to bring Volkmar down, but my opponent in the meantime whittling me down. Now, granted, Griffites really badly beat up Demigryph Knights down to health models, but at this point, if he manages to, he's managed to remove the Questing Knight, so if he manages to kill off Lewin, manages to drive him off, this could be game. Fortunately, over here, peasants are going to swarm the Jade Wizard and do a number on him, hitting him with those hoes and shovels quite effectively, and he's kind of trapped in here against the Trebuchets, so he's not really able to do very much. Trebs keep firing. Another Soulfire does go down, but kind of mistimed there. Doesn't hit the polearms as heavily as my opponent needed. And the Manticore continues charging through, trying to get in on Volkmar, who's now getting hit by an Earthblood as well. So my opponent doing all in his power to keep the man alive. And it's kind of succeeding. Volkmar's, of course, between his regen and his heals there, he's popping back up to 600. Of course, healing cap is now visible. Demigryph's countercharge, poor Louis, and with Regrowth and the Grand Hammer Sigmar are doing a number on him. And things are looking grim. Lewin drops below half health now, though you can see that's actually going to soup up the melee attack on my troops here. Men-at-Arms jumping up to 30 melee attack. Peasant Bows over here hit by Banishment. I think this was a bit of a misplay on my opponent's part, actually. Even though he gets a nice Banishment movement there, I think he should have gone for the Pox arrows, because with the way Pox now works, or with the way Poison now works, these guys don't actually get debuffed. Or these guys don't actually debuff my own troops. So Lewin here, when that Pox arrows are flying in against the Demigryphs, Lewin's not getting debuffed. Now, unfortunately, Volkmar there does fall. The Chariot, the Grand Altar of Sigmar collapsed into ruin, and the polearms are able to push off the spear, so that's a big win for us there. Lewin able to take to the skies, and the last handful of Questing Knights, the last 4 heroes of Brettonia there do charge in. We are able to force off the Demigryphs, and you can see Balance of Power starting to shift back in our favor here. Decisive blow there. And kind of a mistake here on my part, not pulling all these peasant mobs back into the fray. I've got a lot of spears here, and all those units that could really be pushing back in. The artillery is back online, and as you can see, lands a brutalizing blow against the polearms there. Just, Sunmaker is disgusting what it can do to you, and as you can see, it immediately turns the infantry fight here, basically instantaneously. But it's no longer focused on the Blessed Field Trebuchet. We do rout off the Jade Wizard. At this point, my opponent is definitely on the ropes here. You can see the 4 Questing Knights here pursuing the Demigryph Knights off the field, trying to remove them from play. These guys do only have 5 models, so though these guys will probably lose if they do manage to catch them. They'll probably. Before they rally, they should be able to crump them. Peasant Bows here, unloading at point blank against the Flagellants. These naked nut jobs do get mown down there by some arrow fire. But my opponent at this point does concede the game. He did still have the Sigmar Sun, so it wasn't, in fact, an army loss yet. But the game was definitely over. Now, some interesting lessons in this game. One learned, of course, that the Blessed Field Trebuchets don't win against Sunmaker. I did not expect Sunmaker to unleash such absolute ownage against my artillery. And had I not been able to get Lewin in there, had my opponent had some guns in there, honestly, if he'd, for example, ditched like the 2 Flagellants for guns, this would have been a really precarious situation for me, because he would have been able to level the two trebuchets with the Sunmaker, which is, keep in mind, these trebuchets are 1,000 gold apiece. So if the Sunmaker only got rid of those two and nothing else, it's already paid for itself. And then from there, my opponent would have been able to whittle down my knights. I didn't have that much cavalry, so it's not like I could compromise a bunch of guns that effectively. Obviously, my opponent probably was a little concerned about a mass cavalry charge. It is difficult to protect this a lot of Empire ranged assets when there's a lot of Brettonian cav on the field. But yeah, just brutal stuff. Really demolished the Blessed Field Trebuchets. There was a bit of luck involved there, of course, because the Banishment just hit spot on. If that Banishment had meandered off the way it often does, and had, you know, been that 75% chance that it goes somewhere where you don't want it to, it would have been a different story. The Questing Knights would have had a unit of Questing Knights sticking it out to the bitter end, and that would have been a big win. But as the tide turned there, it was a good banishment. It nuked some Questing Knights. They shattered. They ran off the field. The other Questing Knights got brutalized. So rather well played for my opponent. Definitely a nasty shock from the Sunmaker. I did not anticipate that. Sigmar Sons, of course, delivering. And showing that Brettonian artillery play, while certainly powerful and certainly a way that you can dominate this matchup, also does have its counters. It does have its disadvantages. Can be played around. Lewin just kind of hard carrying there. The Manticore Summon's pretty nifty, and the Questing Knights doing an alright job holding up. Polearms, I think, absolute champions, just helping support Lewin in his time of need. Really a unit you don't want to underestimate in this matchup. Empire doesn't usually have an easy time surrounding Brettonia because they just get outnumbered. Brettonia can outnumber Empire in literally every way: artillery, cavalry, infantry, all of it. So usually the Polearms aren't getting surrounded, and because of that, their leadership holds. Empire doesn't have too many things that can lean them out. And in this situation, until that artillery started raining down once more, these guys just bogged down those Demigryph Knights and Volkhorn. They do damage. It adds up. So, regardless, well played here to Zhashang. He definitely had some hard carry units there. Sigmar Sons, Volkvar, the Demigryphs, and of course the Sunmaker just wreaking havoc on my army. But ultimately, it was just not enough against the might of Brettonia. So, well played there. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy the video. As usual, leave your thoughts, opinions, comments, and critiques down below. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. Do thank you all for watching, and we'll see you.